Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. The other day, I was racking my brain for what to talk about today, and so I did what I normally do when I was looking for video inspiration, and I went onto my burner YouTube account, where I spend hours of my time watching conservative videos, so my recommendations are always fantastic. And I refreshed my page a few times because it was entirely Daily Wire videos, and I don't want to subject myself nor you to any more Daily Wire videos for the moment. And I refreshed a couple times and then popped up a stream of a wedding happening at a church which had 40 views. But other than that, also this channel called Freedom Tunes, which is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It is cartoons, like short cartoons, ranging from 15 seconds to 3 minutes of just America, you know? They call themselves centrist. They say that they make centrist cartoons, but they do have 6 videos in a row that start with the word Democrat, so I don't know how they can claim that they're centrist, but obviously, that even aside, we all know what centrist means. It just means conservative. Centrist, moderate, not political. You're conservative. That's just how it goes. So most of their videos, as a lot of conservative stuff has been as of late, is very anti-queer, very anti-women, you know? Great. Very anti-education. And I watched some of these and was just left completely gobsmacked, to be honest. I was startled. I've never seen some of these takes before. I was quite taken aback. I didn't know I could still be shocked by content, but here we are, and I was, in fact, quite shocked by some of this. So we're gonna look at some of that today. But before we get into that, I would like to say a massive thank you to today's patron of the day, Evie. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for your support. If anyone else would like to be on Patreon, go to patreon.com/savvycat. Click the top link in the description. It means a lot. It starts at as little as £1 a month. And I've been doing some fun new music stuff over there, or I'm going to start doing that. I'm working on it. If you want to keep up to date with that. Anyway, yeah, let's get into some Freedom Tunes. So we're gonna start off with a super fun video that is 3 minutes long called Third Grade Teacher When a Boy Likes Pink. And I'm sure you all know what we're in tune for here. But let's give it a watch, shall we?
Okay, class, you absolutely butchered your last unit, which is why I'm reassigning all of the work.
Oh, man.
And if you fail this time, I'll be reassigning all of your genders.
What?
I'm a 3rd grade teacher. In this state, I'm licensed to pick your gender for you. And if you don't pass this unit, I'm going to have to assume it's because you're too tortured by your dysphoria to pay any attention.
It is so absolutely wild to me. It's almost impressive even that they have managed to take the idea that a child can feel unsafe at home but safe at school, and they've taken that and made it into being safe at school being evil. Like, a child can feel unsafe being themselves at home because that is unsafe for some kids. But they feel comfortable doing that at school. And these people have come in and being like, how dare you let that child be safe and happy at school? How dare you do that? That's evil. How do you get there? A kid who is trans, right? A kid who was, you know, assigned male at birth, who is called he, him at home, who is called a boy, who has got these like gender boxes that are put on them at home and is not safe or does not feel safe expressing femininity, expressing using she, her pronouns, etc. at home, but does at school. And the teachers want them to feel happy and safe at school. And that also means that they're going to be learning better, right? When you are happy and safe and comfortable, you will learn better. And they've taken the idea that a teacher doesn't have to tell their parents about that as the teacher assigning students genders, which is I don't know how you managed to get here, bro. How did you come to this conclusion? How did you manage to twist things so badly that allowing a child to be safe and free to express themselves means that a teacher is assigning their gender and lying and being cruel? Like, their parents are the ones who are being cruel here. A child should feel safe to express themselves at home. And if they don't feel safe to express themselves at home, they should be able to do that at school, you know? They should feel safe and comfortable somewhere. And by telling teachers that they have to tell their parents these things, you are enforcing a child's lack of safety. It's just so absurd to me. I don't understand how they got here or why they got there or any of it. Like, they say that they want what's best for the kids, but they are just completely neglecting their safety and their desire to be happy because it doesn't fit with what they believe is right.
My parents would never believe it.
Your parents? Hello, DCFS? Yes, my poor student. She's internalized transphobia because her parents won't acknowledge her gender identity. She won't even accept the use of female pronouns. But I can tell. A third grade teacher can always tell.
You monster!
Like, in what world does this even make sense? Even in a hyperbolic sense. How does this make any sense? Like, truly. How does this threat work? How do you think this makes any sense at all? People always believe the kids, right? And you can't just report a child for not having their identity respected and have consequences happen to their parents or to the child if the child is like actively being like, no, that's not true. Like, you need gender therapy in order to be able to get on like hormones or puberty blockers or have gender affirming care. Like, you need to go through therapy for that. It's like a long, difficult process for a lot of people. Like, they do take it seriously. And you can't just report a child for no fucking reason with no evidence at all. You can't assign a gender to a child. That's what you're doing. That is actually what you're doing. You are assigning genders to children. You're talking about the dangers and like how terrible it is for like teachers to pick students' genders. That's what parents are doing, you know? These kids who are coming into school and wanting to express themselves differently to how they do at home, that is because their parents are forcing a gender on them that isn't theirs. Their parents are doing the forcing of a gender. The teachers are accepting their actual gender and their choice of identity, you know? And it's wild to me also that you're using this as a punishment. Like, I'm really confused by that. Like, I've never seen this take before. I've never seen this take of like, third grade teachers get to choose students' gender and so they use it as a weapon? Since when is being trans a punishment? Like, why would it be used as negative reinforcement, as a punishment? I don't quite understand where this is coming from or how you think this is amusing or at all a reflection of reality in any sense of the word at all. It doesn't make any sense. This is pretty much the whole video. And it's just baffling to me. It just doesn't make sense. This whole narrative is ridiculous. It's dangerous. And it's just so baffling that people have managed to twist this idea of like freedom of speech and identity to be forcing things on children, which it just absolutely is not. I also, like, it's so interesting because, like, I would have thought it would have gone on a different trail, right? Like, the title is Third Grade Teacher When a Boy Likes Pink, which I still don't understand, but I understand that narrative. That's the one you see a lot, right? Where it's like a child expresses something outside of their gender norm, right? So, like, a boy says he likes pink, so then the adults are like, oh, you must be a girl. Oh, you're trans. Everyone's holding you back and not letting you express yourself. Like, that's still ridiculous. And not at all a thing that's happening. However, at least that kind of makes sense. This doesn't make any sense at all, using it as a punishment. And it also, that's not what, the title and the video are two different things, right? Like, I still think that the whole thing is ridiculous of like, oh, you like something outside of your gender norm, you must be the opposite gender. Like, that's That's not accurate. That's not what anyone is doing. That's what you believe is happening. But that's not true at all. But at least it goes with the narrative you're pushing. This makes no sense. We have also got fun videos such as what liberals mean by book banning.
Psst. Psst.
Yeah?
Hey kid, check this out.
Hey! What are you doing? Help! 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 What is going on here? This pervert is trying to—
This woman is trying to ban books!
What?
She wants to ban my queer literature!
Oh, so we've got a book banner!
That's just shameful!
You're sick, lady!
Like, no. Again, even in a hyperbolic sense, this is just fear-mongering, and it's just so ridiculous. No one is encouraging kids having access to, like, pornographic fucking magazines, right? Especially, no one is wanting people off the street approaching kids with, like, pornographic literature, or really any, I feel like it's kind of odd for any grown person to come up to a child and be like, read this book. Like, it's weird. Just in general. Book banning is bad. It is pretty bad. We shouldn't be doing that. And the books that are being banned are not justified in being banned. It is important for kids to learn about sex. It is important for kids to learn about queer history and to know about sexuality. No matter what age you are, you should know about these things. You should know about your body. You should know about consent. You should know about sex and sexuality to an age-appropriate level, right? You see stories of it all the time, of like people saying that these books teaching about sex to an age-appropriate level is what helps kids articulate abuse that is happening to them. If a kid doesn't know about consent, they don't know about their bodies, they don't know about sex to any degree, how are they going to tell someone if that is happening to them, right? If you are taking away all knowledge of sex from children, you are making them unsafe. Knowing about these things actually helps to protect kids, and if you are trying to take that away, you are complicit in the abuse of children. And it is found that a lot of people who are trying to take this shit away from kids have abused kids before and do actively do so. Why do you need to take that knowledge away from kids? Especially when it comes to like even nudity and shit, right? Like if you inherently associate nudity with being bad, that sounds like a you problem. Because to children, a body is just that. It's a body. A kid will see a naked person and they don't think of it in a sexual way because they don't have the capacity to do that. They don't know what sex is. They don't know what it means. They don't have the emotional connection to that. They just see a body as a body. They have bodies. Their family members have bodies. Everyone has bodies. They don't have the capacity to view that in a sexual way. They're not going to do that. If kids are seeing photos of naked people, they're just seeing photos of naked people. They don't think anything more of that. It's not forcing sexuality on them. It's teaching them about what bodies are. I remember like our sex education videos and stuff at school have naked people and I've never thought anything sexual of it because it was educational. We had to like draw the outlines of naked people from like the age of 8 up until like the final stages of puberty, like drawing outlines of their bodies and how they change and grow and stuff like that, right? Like that's a part of what we had to do at sex education. They didn't corrupt me. It didn't make me view bodies in a different way. They were just bodies. And sure, it was like funny to do at the time because nudity was funny when you're 11 or 12, But it's like, it's not anything other than that. I didn't have the capacity to view things in a sexual way because I didn't know what that was, really. I didn't know what that meant. I wasn't in a place in my life where that was something that meant anything. Like, bodies to children are very different to bodies to adults. And even bodies to adults shouldn't always be sexual. When I see a naked body, do not think of sex. Ever. Unless I'm in a position in which the context is sexual. If I'm going into a sexual encounter with someone and I see their naked body, then yes, I'm going to think of it in a sexual way. But if I'm just like in a changing room, if I'm at the gym and someone's gotten out of the shower and they're naked, not a single thought about sex or anything like that goes through my head. Not a single one enters it. I was a piercer for a long time. I was a piercer or piercing assistant for a year, right? And I'm queer. And I spent a lot of time with like boobs in my face, just drawing dots on nipples and like trying to like get them straight. I spent a lot of time looking at boobs. Not a single time ever did a thought even enter my mind that was remotely sexual. Ever. Not a single time. And I did a lot. Nothing sexual ever entered my mind because it wasn't a sexual context. Nudity isn't sexual unless it's intended to be. And the fact that you take nudity and then when you think of a kid thinking about nudity and you think sex, that's a problem. That's a problem, and that's a problem from you, right? If you see a naked child and you think about sex, that's a problem for you by 100 million %. And if you see a naked body around children and you think about sex, that is a problem. Nudity is fine. Talking about sex is fine. Kids need to know about this sort of stuff. It shouldn't be banned. Pornography is a different thing. Kids shouldn't have access to porn, but there's a debate whether anyone should really have access to some certain porn. Definitely should not be accessible, you know, just in general. There's a lot of really harmful shit in there. But like to an age appropriate level, sex stuff is very important to have and to know about. Next up, we have a very short one that's just called Polyamory Explained in 15 Seconds.
I'm polyamorous.
What's that?
Well, you know how awesome it is to be with one beautiful woman?
Yeah.
Well, imagine if instead you and 5 other guys shared a fat one.
Huh.
Like, what? What? How did you get here? How do you think this? How does it matter? If your polyamory works, like there's one woman with 5 boyfriends, like that is not typically how it works at all. Unless you also have other partners as well. Usually it's not like 5 monogamous men with 1 polyamorous woman. That very, very rarely happens, if ever. But like also, fat women are beautiful. So already, what the fuck? Also, like all women and men and non-binary people of all shapes, sizes, ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, etc. can be and are polyamorous, right? And I don't know why you have a problem with that. I don't know what the issue is. Why do you have something against that? What's the problem with being polyamorous? Like, it's not for everyone, sure, but like, monogamy isn't for everyone either. Monogamy is very largely enforced by, you know, societal standards, by Christianity, that sort of thing. Like it doesn't feel natural for a lot of people, you know? We all have a lot of love to give, and like that can be extended out beyond one person. We have multiple friends. Why can't we have multiple partners? I don't understand what the issue is. Are you jealous? Is that what this is? That you're jealous? Because a lot of the time it's like, I don't want to share you with anyone else, but like you don't own them. If you're not into polyamory and that's not something that works for you, fine. Be monogamous. No one gives a fuck. Most people are monogamous. But like, leave polyamorous people alone. They didn't do anything, you know? And like, whatever works for you, man. If you're happy with one partner and your partner has a bunch of partners, then that's chill. If you're happy having like one person that you like love and then having a lot of people you like just have casual things with, good for you. Whatever empowers you, whatever makes you happy, whatever fulfills you, as long as there is consent between you and a partner, I don't know why it's anyone else's business. You're like, polyamorous people are so loud, they never shut up about it. No, monogamous people are so loud, never shut the fuck up about it. It's like, and I'm not polyamorous, or I've not ever been in a polyamorous relationship, but I've dated polyamorous people. And like, I don't see the big deal. It's fine, okay? Let people do what makes them happy. Next up, we have what lefties think public schools are like versus reality.
Class, today we're going to continue our lesson on America, God's favorite country that never did nothing wrong.
Not even slavery?
Slavery? He's a communist. Get him!
USA,
done did nothing bad ever in all of history. Bring a football, McDonald's.
I mean, from what I've heard from kids who have been through the American system or are currently in the American system, there are some classes that are sort of like that. You know, from what I've seen from textbooks, from what I've heard from teachers who are learning the curriculum, there is a lot of stuff that is left behind, left out, you know? I mean, I'm not American, but I went to school in New Zealand, and I know that a lot of like colonization was sort of glamorized. There's a lot of stuff glossed over. You kind of always look at it, it's like, the Europeans were the bad guys, but like also, like, you know, it's just what happens because a lot of the teachers are white. The people teaching the curriculum are white. The people who wrote the curriculum are white. So there is white guilt involved in the teaching. They don't want to take accountability. They don't want to talk about it like it's a bad thing. So there is often a lot of glossing over important stuff that needs to be talked about. And there are a lot of teachers who are very pro Second Amendment, you know? There's a lot of people, like, it's taught very, like, forefathers. You stand and say the fucking Pledge of Allegiance every morning. Like, that's weird. There is a lot of important stuff left out of history. There's a lot of stuff that is changed and glossed over. There is a lot of idolizing of people who committed genocide and slavers and all that, you know? Like, that does happen. And that's not exclusive to the US. That is a worldwide problem. That is a global issue. But it is very bad in the US. I almost feel like I learned more about some of, like, African American culture than some Americans did. Like, we did a whole term on, like, how Black Americans influenced, like, music and, like, rock and roll into, like, blues and jazz and into pop music. And I know a lot of people don't know that. And we had a whole term dedicated to that in music. And, like, I just don't know why that's not celebrated and learnt about. And I don't know, man. We did a whole term on, like, gumboot dance in year 7. Like, anyway, let's see what they say public schools are really like.
Okay, class, today's lesson is on slavery. Tomorrow we'll be learning about the Holocaust. Then on Thursday, how we genocided the Native Americans. And then slavery again on Friday before we start again with the Holocaust next week.
Okay, well, I think that we shouldn't be doing it like this. You shouldn't have a day dedicated to a different subject because that just feels like it would be really hard to learn. You should do this in blocks for like several weeks to a term for each subject, but these are all important things to learn about. Are you trying to say that you shouldn't be learning about that in class? Like, you absolutely should be learning about slavery. You should be learning about the Holocaust, and you should be learning about the genocide of Native Americans. Those are all very important things to learn. They are very important things to learn. And although, like, yeah, it should be done at an age-appropriate level, you should still, like, you start with it young and then you just get more intense and more in depth as you get older, right? Like, I think we learned about colonization and the Musket Wars for the first time, I think in year 4, I believe, when I was like 8, is when we started learning about that at school. And then we started with like the Holocaust and slavery and such a bit later on. The Holocaust we learned in year 7, 8. So when I was 11, 12, and then we did a term or 2 on slavery and particular the triangular slave trade in year 9. And then we did the Holocaust again and World War I and like go into more depth with that, you know? And like, it is important to do. You have to learn about this shit. It is very, very important to do.
Now turn to page 873 of The Holocaust Was My Fault textbook. Jimby, would you like to read?
The Holocaust was your fault. When the Holocaust happened, it was kind of like that one time when we owned slaves and killed Indians. Do you remember that? You should, because it was your fault.
Firstly, we don't typically say Indians in reference to Native American people. So that if you're gonna try to quote woke propaganda and leftism, you've got to change your wording there. Teaching people to take accountability, or not even accountability, teaching people to pay reparations and understand the effect their ancestors had isn't teaching them that something is their fault. There is a difference, you know? And like, I think that it is important to learn about the privileges that you have, and it is important to understand the world that we live in and why you may have more than other people do. I think that it is important to learn about that. And there is no one teaching kids that the Holocaust is their fault. There's no one teaching kids that slavery is their fault. You can learn about privilege and understand that, you know, you have it easier than other people without being taught to feel shame and guilt. That is not what's happening. If you yourself are feeling shame and guilt from these conversations, that is something you need to deal with yourself and figure out how to not feel that. We have privilege, you know? And that it's not a bad thing to admit that. And it's not like you don't have to feel shame or guilt for having privilege. You just have to be aware that you have it. And then be aware of how you treat other people because of it. If you have an understanding that the world was built for you, and then you can just be careful about how you treat people and more aware of the privileges that you have. It doesn't mean you have to deny opportunities. You can still use your privilege and be privileged and also be aware of others and help others by using your privilege, right? Like, you don't have to feel guilty and ashamed of being privileged. I have the privilege of being like a white New Zealander, right? My ancestors came in and colonized, and I have that privilege, right? I have like a house and like the privileges that come with that. Whereas Maori people have the lack of privilege. They had their land stolen. They were forced out. They were treated badly, you know, like that sort of thing. Like, they still suffer from that lack of privilege. They've been able to get into the same positions as myself because I have the privilege and they didn't. And although that is like an old privilege, it's still very prevalent. And I am aware of that. And so I understand that occasionally they are going to be given like different opportunities. There are going to be like scholarships and such that are available for them and not for me because they weren't granted the same privileges that I had. You know, I had a head start. Like, on average, you know? It's not difficult to understand, really. You just don't want to have equality or equity. You want to continue being above people. And you don't know what to do with the shame or the guilt, so you just choose to ignore it.
Now, I hope all of you remembered to bring photographs of yourselves to draw Hitler mustaches onto and paste over the faces of plantation owners who are killing Indians.
How did you get here? How did you get to this conclusion? Why? What good is this doing? What do you think you're doing? What point do you think you're proving? This isn't what's happening.
Goodness, I almost forgot. Everyone stand for the national anthem.
I am oh so sorry for causing slavery and killing Indians. We vote Republican.
This is so wild because, like, you actually do have kids stand to say the national anthem in schools in the US and also the Pledge of Allegiance, which we talked about before, which is absolutely ridiculous. You know what the normal thing to do is? Just don't. Just don't. Like, you're brainwashing kids by making them say this bullshit national anthem where they're causing slavery. It's like, or alternatively, just don't say a national anthem in school. Don't pledge allegiance to a country and make kids say they're gonna lay their lives down for their country, because that's just a fucked up brainwashy thing to do, right? That's your point here? Is that making kids stand up with their hand over their heart and say a bunch of shit is brainwashy? Yeah, it is. Just fucking stop doing it. Like, the fact that that's just a normal thing that you're expected to do is wild. The fact you don't see that as brainwashy, which you clearly do, it's wild. It's wild. Here is a video that is titled, "The Pride Month That Wasn't."
There I was, innocently chatting with 8-year-olds about sex online, when out of nowhere... What's happening? No! Starbucks! I can always count on you. 1 latte, please.
If you're going to be portraying a gay person ordering coffee, it has to be an iced latte, all right? You gotta get your story straight. A gay person is ordering an iced latte. I say that I'm a hot coffee person, okay? I am a hot coffee person personally. But if you're going to be portraying the stereotype, you have to get an iced coffee or you haven't been paying attention.
You think we're gonna give coffee to a gay? So you can be gay even faster? I don't think so.
No!
I cast thee out, sodomite!
Somebody, please help me. A brand hasn't told me I'm special in 4 minutes.
I don't personally endorse every sexual taste you have.
People have other things to do in life than pander to you.
No! Stop it! Stop it!
I'm not gonna let you show porn to my child!
No!
Yeah!
No! You turned me straight! I wasn't able to show porn to your child and I'm straight now! No!
Few things. One, we are also believers that children shouldn't have access to the entire internet. That is a bad thing. We very much agree on that. Children should not have access to the whole internet. Children's internet use should be monitored by a parent. There's a lot of stuff that kids should not see on the internet. Shouldn't be on social media. You know? Like, they just shouldn't be. That's a fact. I started being on social media when I was 9, I think. I got a Facebook. And I used it exclusively to talk to my friends, and it was monitored by my mother. Instagram came out when I was 12, I think. So that's when I got an Instagram. And it was just when people were just posting photos, you know? Like, there was a lot less on the internet. I didn't know how to navigate the internet very well. I've done things on the internet I probably shouldn't have. So I'm very much aware that kids should not be on the internet. They should not be on certain parts of social media. They should on social media at all. It should be monitored by their parents. No kid should be talking about sex to anyone on the internet ever. And we, the left, very much agree with that and think that. So I don't know what your point is there. And then after that, people who are against rainbow capitalism, queer people are very against rainbow capitalism. Having people be pro-queer for a month and then disappear is incredibly frustrating. We know that it's pandering and it's frustrating and we wish that people did more. Companies who don't donate any profit or anything to organizations during Pride Month suck, you know? But the problem this year when there were companies who weren't doing it is that it's scary because it shows that companies are not benefiting from showing queer support as much anymore, right? It shows that homophobia is winning. Homophobic people were having more of a say, and that is scary. It's great to have company validation because it shows where we're at in society, right? It shows that people are more accepting of queer people. It shows that supporting queer people is good for business, and that is what we want to see. It's not because it validates us, which it does validate some people, which is great. I'm glad that it helps people feel seen, but it is more than that. It's about the fact that we as a society were comfortable and okay with celebrating being queer, which is great. Like, a company changing their profile picture to a rainbow doesn't have any impact on me personally at all. However, it is a good reflection of where we are at presently, you know? We aren't queer for attention. We are queer because that is who we are, you know? I express myself how I feel validates me and makes me happy. And like, it's got nothing to do with how other people view me. Queerphobia, transphobia, homophobia, etc. is still so prevalent. Like, people wouldn't choose to be queer if they could choose not to be, because, like, you know, people still face hate crimes. People still get kicked out of home. There's a lot of people who would rather not. There's a lot of people who would rather be cishet. No one's doing this for attention. It's just about self-expression and being who you are. And the fact you have a problem with it is insane. The fact that you think that queer people's only purpose is to show porn to your kids is ridiculous. And that is a terrifying amount of projection that you've got going on there. Anyway, I have to go because I have to leave to go to an Asper concert soon and I have not had dinner yet. So I'm going to go eat and then go to the concert. If you want to see photos and videos of the concert and all the other concerts that I've gone to and everything else, then you can follow me on Instagram at @thequeerkiwi and also Twitter, @thatqueerkiwi while you're at it. Yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Harry, Bobby, Sparrow, Josh, Mandy, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Danielle, Anoli Like Cannoli, Elias, Apollo, Taylor is Trying, Boston, Chris, and Amelia. I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/ShavyCat. Click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, and more. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.